You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, in Mississippi, they are closer to actually getting rid of the Confederate emblem on the state flag. Folks, yesterday, actually all week, business leaders, coaches of the state's football teams have been descending on the state capitol saying it's time to get that emblem off of the state flag. The governor of Mississippi now realizes the votes are not there. I got a text earlier from somebody who's in Mississippi who told me that they believe they now have the votes to actually overturn it. Now, what the governor's been trying to do is he wants the citizens to vote on that. Remember, they had a referendum a couple of years ago, and 64% of the people in Mississippi said keep that flag. And so the governor wants the voters to vote, but the legislature is under major pressure from the business community because they're realizing they're about to lose a whole bunch of money if that thing stays on. The SEC has already said no championships in Mississippi if that flag still stands. The NCAA, same thing as well. Joining us right now is actress Aunjanue Ellis. She has been a strong advocate against this flag, speaking out against it. Aunjanue, again, it's not a done deal, but the legislature apparently says they'd have the votes to actually vote to remove that emblem from the state flag.
That's what I'm hearing too.
You've been fighting this thing. You were here in D.C. a few years ago. We covered it. Y'all had a rally on the U.S. Capitol. You've been out here raising hell. Obviously, you don't celebrate until it's actually done. That flag comes down. But looks like the murder of George Floyd, again, is changing something else in America.
Yes. I mean, and first of all, I just want to say that it makes me so angry that we had to lose Mr. Floyd, that Mr. Floyd's family had to lose him, that Breonna Taylor had to be lost, had to be killed for us to come to this place, and Mr. Floyd, George, had to be killed in such a brutal way. And we all witnessed it, and there was just, it has brought us to this moment of reckoning. And I'm so thankful to George Floyd's family. I'm so thankful to George Floyd and his absence. I'm so thankful to him, but I would take it back, just to have him back with his daughter, Gianna. And I just think that it's infuriating that these moments have to happen for us to suddenly find a conscience. The SEC suddenly finds a conscience. The NCAA suddenly finds a conscience. The Conference USA suddenly finds a conscience because of the way that George Floyd was tortured and killed. And it's a shame. It's just a shame that has to happen.
The governor desperately wants to avoid this. He wants the voters to vote on it. But you have some legislators who are under enormous pressure. I mean, Mississippi has gotten hit with economic sanctions before. This is different. And I think not only is economic sanctions, when that brother from Ole Miss said, I ain't going to play football, no.
Exactly.
Them white folks are scared these black ball players are not going to take the field or the court.
Exactly. And I mean, Kylin Hill, his name is Kylin Hill, and he's a hero. He is a hero. He's a Mississippi. He's a running back from Mississippi State. And we did a rally at the SEC a few years ago in the rain. I wasn't able to go, but I put the money in to send folks from Mississippi to Alabama to the SEC headquarters, and they was out there, and we got filmed. They ended up on television and everything. But we didn't even get a response from the SEC. But now all of a sudden, like I said, they have a conscience. And I've been saying this, the reason why we sent them buses over there to the SEC, because we knew that. We knew that Mississippi ain't got but a couple of economies that are viable, and one of them is the chicken plants, and the other one, two of them, it's the chicken plants, it's the church, and it's football. If they lose football, the injury that would be done to the economy in Starkville and Oxford, which is where Mississippi State and Ole Miss are, they would never recover from that. They would never recover from that. And think about it, all of this stuff is in question because of the virus now. And then you're going to add on to that the likelihood that there would be no football at all. That's untenable. That is untenable for the state. And let me add this. So this idea of the Southern Baptist Convention, after all of this pressure, we've been writing to them, and folks been saying stuff to them, and they have finally said that the flag must come down. So the two most viable economies in the state of Mississippi, football and church, have finally said enough is enough, and the flag must come down. And the pressure is too strong. But even with all that pressure, Tate Reeves is on some, I'm so torn, who's the governor, I'm so torn, I don't know what to do, and I'm praying about it. I mean, it's ridiculous. They were supposed to vote today at 3:00, and they adjourned for some reason. So they're stalling. They are stalling. But they said they're going to go back. They're going to go back at 10:00 tomorrow. The fact is, we have to keep the pressure on. The pressure has to be kept on these folks, or they could do the same thing they did in 2001. The thing is racism outnumbers us in Mississippi. Racism outnumbers us, and that's why Tate Reeves wants to put it up for a vote, because he knows that. He knows that if he puts it up for a vote, it is the flag will remain the same, because racism outnumbers us in Mississippi, period.
Well, we will be watching this. Apparently, I got a text saying there will be a vote tomorrow, a Saturday.
10:00.
We'll see if that actually happens. If this legislature finally gets some guts to get that Confederate emblem off the flag. But the last point here, and we've had these very discussions before. There are black people, and I'm seeing some of the comments, who are saying, look, taking that emblem off that flag, not gonna change a damn thing. That look right there is the response. How do you respond to them?
2 words. No, I got 4 of them actually. Dylan Roof, Heather Heyer. And I don't need to say anymore. I don't need to say all the other names, but those are the names that they should remember, because that has happened in the last few years. When Dylan Roof went into Mother Emanuel AME Church in South Carolina and killed and massacred those black people after he prayed with them, we found pictures of Dylan Roof waving the Confederate flag. When Heather Heyer was mowed down in the streets of Virginia, she had Confederate flags flying all around her. That flag is not just a symbol, it is an instruction to terrorize American citizens. Hands down, point blank, full stop. And so what I know is that this idea that, it's not going to change anything. No, it's not going to change anything, because you can't dismantle Confederate culture by taking down the Confederate flag. That the work of dismantling Confederate culture is hundreds of years in the making. That's why it was so hard for us to come to this moment, because you're not taking down the flag. You are dismantling a culture. But the idea that these folks who were the architects of this culture would have to surrender themselves to another kind of vision is significant. It matters. And then we can start having really productive conversations about how the Confederate culture affects our lives. One is voting rights, workers' rights. And here's the other thing when I talk about when folks say, oh, it don't matter. It does matter, because people will walk. I'm talking about the everydayness of the flag. The everydayness of the flag is the fact that it is another kind of segregation. It's another kind of segregation. If you come to Mississippi and you go to see a store or something like that, and they got a flag, they got that flag hanging out there, you go, I'm not going in that store. If you go to a restaurant, they got a flag hanging out, you go, I'm not going in that restaurant. If you go down a road and the first thing you see on the end of that road, I'm telling you because I'm living that life in Mississippi. If you see that flag at the end of that road, you're not going to go down that road. So what it does is white people don't have to say we're segregationists here. What they do is they put that flag there and you know not to go there. The other thing is a couple years ago, I think this happened in 2018, if not 2016. There was a man who showed up in the Delta, North Mississippi or the Delta, at a voting booth with a Confederate flag on his shirt and a noose and a noose.
Yep, I remember.
So yes, exactly. So when people saw, what you think people thought? What do you think a voter who walks in a place and sees this white man with a Confederate flag and a noose on his chest? What do you think they think? I'm not scared of that. I don't have a reason to be afraid of that. And let me tell you this, but beyond whether you're afraid or not, he's telling you that you need to be afraid. He's telling you that you need to reconsider voting that day. That is what he is telling you. That is what that message is. That's what that message tells you, that black people are not welcome here. You are not wanted here. It is another form of segregation. That's what it is. I'm gonna say this right quick because I know you got other folks to talk to, but I think this is the next step in this. That flag is going to come down. That's going to happen. The next step is what is the flag that is going to replace it? That's the one thing. And already these segregationists are trying to chime in and say what the flag ought to look like, right? You have there's this Stennis flag that is now called the hospitality flag that was designed by Lauren Stennis, who is the granddaughter of Senator John Stennis. John Stennis was almost a congressman for life from Mississippi. He's a Democrat. And besides being a segregationist and a signer of the Southern Manifesto, which decried public integration, beside all of that, in this moment of talking about torture of black men, John Stennis prosecuted a case in Mississippi in the 30s. And in that case, 3 men who were accused of killing a white farmer. Those men were tortured. They were stripped of their clothing and beaten with leather straps on their backs. That's terrible. But one of them was strung up by a noose repeatedly until he told the police what they wanted to hear. Repeatedly hung by a noose. So what does that mean? They strung him up by his neck. Right before he died, they take him down. And then they will tell us what we want to hear. He didn't tell them what they wanted to hear because he would have lied if he did. And then they strung him up again. And they strung him up again. He did that. They did that to that man repeatedly. The confession was the only evidence that they had in that case. The only evidence. And John Stennis knew it. The crime, the case was so heinous that the United States Supreme Court in Brown versus Mississippi, not Brown versus Board of Education, Brown versus Mississippi, overturned that case. The United States Supreme Court in the 30s said, you know what, you wrong for that. You wrong for doing that. That's who John Stennis is. And so his family wants to put his name on the next flag of the state of Mississippi. We cannot allow that to happen. One more thing, and I'm going to let you go. Here's the thing. What's going to happen in Mississippi, hopefully, Jesus, this weekend, is a display of ovaries that the United States Congress does not have. Because we would not be having this conversation about the Confederate flag if the United States Congress would ban the flag nationwide in the first place. Why is it legal to fly that flag in the first place? The United States Marine Corps, even before George Floyd died, banned that flag months ago. NASCAR has banned the flag, the public display of the flag. Why isn't Congress involved? Why hasn't Congress said, okay, now it's time for us to ban that flag? And that's the next step in this. Organizations like PEN America and the ACLU, who have stood back and allowed domestic terrorism for American citizens and hiding behind this idea of free speech, need to be the first people to call Nancy Pelosi on Monday morning and say, okay, our bad. It's time for this flag to come down everywhere, everywhere.
All right, then. Aunjanue Ellis, always a pleasure. I appreciate it, darling.
I'm sorry, I talked a lot, didn't I?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I appreciate it. Well, I got your kinfolk, who not your kinfolk, Terry Ellis, coming up next. And she has her new song called Angry Woman that's dedicated to, of course, this movement. So you might want to check that out.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Aunjanue, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Roland, for always standing up for us. Thank you. Bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Real quick to our panel. Look, interesting point there, Teresa. She says Congress should ban that Confederate flag. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. I mean, the passion behind the flag, but really it's the motion of the history of what it stands for, right? And I think, she's spot on, because if once we take down the Confederate flag, the next question is, what are we putting up, right? And those discussions need to happen now, I believe, in tandem while we're asking for the takedown. Because if we start my thought process is, if we start removing the Confederate flag and then we start if we have individuals who's just like, well, since you won't get the flag that has that, maybe we can put a name that represents the same thing as the flag. It's pretty much the same exact thing, right? It's the same exact problem that's not having a solution. So Congress absolutely need to do what they do for the people, and they need to ban the flag. That is the next protest that needs to happen. That is the next subject matter. That is the next reform. But I do think people are making their voices clear locally with the organizations, the groups. They are telling their elected officials that enough is enough.
Right.
And, they want better.
Derek, should Congress ban the Confederate flag in America?
Yes, absolutely. And I think somebody needs to introduce that. It's unfortunate that, that Mississippi running back that they talked about, Kylin Hill, he's the Heisman Trophy candidate. So when he stood up, he brought a lot of attention to this issue, in addition to what she's been doing. And it's unfortunate because right now, Mississippi is the only state that still has the Confederate flag, the entire Confederate flag attire. And the question is, what you guys were just saying, what are they going to put up there instead? And because even now there's 5 other states that ban the Confederate flag, but they still have, unfortunately, the symbols from it, like the X and the stars. Arkansas has stars. Georgia has the X. A couple other states. So I'm all for banning all elements, all of the attire from the Confederate flag. It needs to go because it represents so much. I would say it points to the whole South lost cause myth that endorses the supposed, virtues of Southern way of life that a lot of white people still live by in the South.
Yep. I got you. Rob?
Yep, it endorses white supremacy. So what you can't have is state-sanctioned violence, saying the state, like, this is okay for us to represent this. Like, when I hear black folks, anybody say, well, we shouldn't worry about it. Can you imagine Jewish folks saying it would be okay for you to hang Nazism up there? No, of course not. It's the same thing. This was started. We know that Confederate flags were brought back to intimidate black people post-Reconstruction, to put us in our place, to make sure they put white superiority back. And these were traitors of the country. Like, I don't understand the argument in this. These people lost the war. They were traitors. They have no place there. The flag shouldn't be there, and it's there just to preserve white superiority for some people. But you know what? Just like reparations, other people would rather light their own money on fire than to give reparations to black people. And I think some people feel the same way about the flag. They might just burn up the state than actually get rid of the Confederate flag. But we got to keep fighting, because this is about basic humanity. People have to respect us. This is just the beginning. Then we have to have a real conversation about what happened in this country, and it should be a reminder everywhere in this country, just like it is in Germany when they talk about the Holocaust.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, fam, the folks at Ceek.com, founded by Mary Spiel, a sister, of course. She is the inventor, the creator of these devices, this virtual reality headset right here. You saw it in the video there. And also the 360-degree 4D headphones. You can actually get these with a discount because they partner with us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Right here, here's the code, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. First of all, folks, the headsets are phenomenal. The headphones are absolutely phenomenal. And of course, the VR headset is great because you just pop your phone, put it into the device, and then you can actually see video in virtual reality. So it's real cool. Go to Ceek.com, 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 and use the promo code RMVIP2020.